Welcome to our live video on Venus going direct. This is kind of a big deal in the astrology. Planets going retrograde and going direct are big themes in our lives. So in this video, we're going over what it's going to mean for each sign of the zodiac when Venus goes direct on September 3rd. So for those who do not know, we have been in a Venus retrograde for a while. And so Venus did go retrograde back on July 22nd. And I will talk about briefly what retrogrades tend to mean for all of us. And then I will go through what it means for each sign of the zodiac. Yes. So if you are here joining us, feel free to leave me a comment in the chat box. And if you're here watching afterwards, still comment, let us know you're here. And as always, I love to hear, especially on these reports, I love to hear how they affect you. I love to hear whether what I'm telling you is showing up in your life and how. So always feel free to share that with me. And also, readings are on sale. So check out the link in the comments for information on that. The sale ends Saturday. So if you want to get in on that 50% off, you better do it soon. And they're booking up fast. So I would go do that right now if you want to make sure you get in. You can do the 1 hour or the 1.5 hour. If you can't find what you're looking for, email me at Saffron, or no, I forgot what my email was. Email me at Cassandra@saffronsageastrology.com. All right, moving on now to what does Venus retrograde even mean anyway? This is one of those kind of buzzwords in astrology that I think tends to get a little bit catastrophized, right? Because we think retrograde is bad. And I think, retrograde isn't bad. It's just the time when you are that area of life isn't moving forward in the same way. There's a tendency to go back, to reassess, and to redo something. So that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes someone comes back into your life relating to the house Venus is retrograde in, and you see them during that time. It's not always bad. It's not always you lose something. But there is, retrograde itself, the phenomena is kind of associated with having more of a desire to do something. And that desire to do something bringing us kind of like more of an internal need to get that thing right. And Venus is our love, our money, our friends, our relationships, our social lives. So we all collectively, since Venus went retrograde back on July 22nd, could have had an experience where we realized, our values are changing a little bit related to how we spend our money, related to how we make our money, related to how much we are enjoying our life or not, and seeing what needs to change there. Or realizing something we've wanted to change related to our love or our money or our friendships. It's like maybe now is the time where that becomes more clear to us. We become more aware of the need for change. We become more aware of that. It can also be because Venus is such a social planet, like I said, a person related to that sphere of life, and that area of life by house, based on your rising sign, coming back into your life and popping in after a long time of not seeing people from that area of life or something along those lines. I'll use an example from my life when we get to the Virgo rising, since I am a Virgo rising. So let's go on now to how this, I'll give you guys the dates and then I'll tell you guys for each sign of the zodiac how it's going to affect every single sign of the zodiac when Venus goes direct on September 3rd. And we'll kind of recap a little bit of what Venus retrograde's been doing. I know people like to see the transits ahead of time, but honestly, sometimes I think looking at the transit that just happened helps and is like such an insightful thing to do. I know I found that for myself, that looking at transits that just happened, I think it's better. And I don't love doing predictive astrology. I love helping you figure out what to do with your own chart and how to make the most out of it. So that's what we're going to do. So let's go on now. And we have the chart up, and I just realized I'm going to need to change the times on that. The hours and the day and everything, because we're back on today. So just so we can see what's happening here, this is today, but what day we're looking at here is the 3rd of September, because that is the day that Venus will go direct. So you can see she'll be direct now. It's no longer red. Okay, so then we're going to also change the hour here so we can look at all of the different signs of the zodiac. So keep in mind, we're not necessarily hyper-focused here on the exact moment that Venus is direct and the degree and the minutes or anything. We're focused on by rising sign, what house Venus will be in and how that is going to affect Venus's direct motion. And to tell you a little bit more about how we do this, I'm going to tell you what we do. And if you want more on this, you can actually join. I did a Astro 101 course that you can join. So what we're doing is we're going to start with the rising sign. Okay, because that determines what house Venus will be in. So Venus will be acting in a certain house. But then we go a step deeper and we look at what houses does Venus rule, which Venus rules, she rules Taurus and she rules Libra. So we're going to look at those signs for everyone's chart, and that factors in. So activities for Aries rising, activities of their money house and their relationship house, those things have an impact on their 5th house, their fun house. And so that's how we're going to do that. Let me get rid of this thing now because I don't want it up here. How? I don't know how. Remove. No, I don't want to remove the whole thing. Shoot. There, that's how. I did it. Okay, so now that I know what I'm doing, maybe we're going to keep going here. So starting with Aries rising. So for Aries rising, and you guys can also watch your sun and moon for these. So you can watch your sun, moon, and rising, just knowing that your rising sign is probably going to be the most accurate when it comes to the external events. So for the Aries risings, we have Venus going direct in the 5th house, which means she went retrograde in the 5th house back on July 22nd. So for Aries risings who are not in touch with their kids, it could be since July one of your kids popped in for a visit or something like that. Other people that are related to the 5th house, this would be like an ex coming back, especially an ex-lover, because the 5th house is more about pleasure, less about commitment. When it comes to love, it could be a rekindling if you're in a relationship of love. It could have been a time for Aries risings from, and the date on this is going to be from July 22nd to September 3rd. I feel like I want to write that. But from July 22nd to September 3rd, that's going to be, and maybe I will. Let's see if I can do it. July 22nd to September 3rd. Can you see it though? Yes. Right. I'm feeling good about that. Okay, so you guys can see it and everything. Man, life is good. Okay, so we have that. We have Venus in the 5th house for Aries rising, meaning a focus on pleasure. How do you receive pleasure? Are you, the 5th house can be like our entertainment, our creative passion. So this can be a time from July till now where you kind of revise how you express yourself creatively. This isn't usually what you wear. It's usually more about how you communicate to others, how you express yourself in ways that are directly received by other people that they could possibly give you feedback on. So that's like stuff like how you talk, how you tell jokes, who you're hanging out with, and then beyond the self-expression, your creative potency. Do you feel like you are manifesting what you want into life? Do you feel like what you are creating in life is coming into being? There may have been some time where that has been reassessed, and on the 3rd of September is where there is more of an energy of, okay, now we've learned those lessons. Let's pick it up and move on and do something with it. Now we are ready to, get back on the path, so to speak. So Venus ruling Aries, second house, money house, and seventh house, relationship house. This really does feel like a transit where some Aries rising may have maybe been fighting with Mars, especially with Mars just entering that seventh house. Not yet, but at the time of this, on the 3rd, Mars will be in that seventh house, and it will be, sometimes that can cause arguments between you and your partner, bickering. Now, sometimes it's actually like passion and like, banter and more of an enjoyable tension, when you want to fight with someone and you like it. And they're fighting back, but in just the right way. That is something that some Aries risings are going to be feeling. But on September 3rd, Venus going direct brings whatever you've learned about money and love since July 22nd into, it's like now your ability to kind of use this and pick it up and move forward. The second house is our money, our things, right? So maybe some Aries risings have been getting rid of their stuff or reassessing, looking at the design of your house, and wanting to redo the bed sheets or something, or the pillows or whatever it is you want to look beautiful, getting new art on the wall, stuff like that. And that seventh house is our partnership. So it's like, are you getting your needs met in relationships? This would be a question that is coming up for a lot of Aries rising. Now, for those who maybe relationship isn't on the radar at this time, that seventh house can be one-on-one clients, and it can also be your really close friends. So reestablishing values with really close friends. Now, going back to the Venus retrograde, sometimes bringing a person from that area of life back into your life temporarily. This can be, the fifth house is a fun house. So this could have been like a college roommate or someone you used to party with, or someone who you find to be very entertaining and engaging, someone who has that like star quality, someone really fun who for whatever reason has not been in your life for a while, coming back in and maybe even doing something fifth house like with them, which could either go the sexual way or could go totally innocently to like doing something fun, going out on the town, going to do whatever it is you do that's enjoyable, going to see a show, something like that. So either way, this Venus direct on the 3rd for Aries rising, I think will be a time where you guys can really kind of feel like you can make more clear financial or relationship decisions. And you just may feel a little wiser when it comes to what you want in money or love. Again, the second house ruling your possessions, it can also be just like you got rid of a dining set and now you got a new one. It could really be something that straightforward as well. And with Venus being your second house ruler, it's almost like maybe you've been saving up to invest in something enjoyable, and now you're ready to make some kind of investment into your creativity, a business, or just having more fun. Almost like you redid your budget and now you can go have more fun or something. So those are some of the ways that we could see this coming up for Aries risings. And now we're going to move on to the next sign, which is going to be Taurus. So for Taurus, sun, moon, and rising, especially rising, Venus has been in your 4th house. It went retrograde back on July 22nd and is going direct on September 3rd. So I'm going to write that for all of them because I think it needs to be written so I don't forget. So you could see since July 22nd, a family member coming back into your life who maybe hasn't been present for any reason at all, or a trip to your hometown for Tauruses and Taurus risings, or what else could this be for 4th house? Usually it's 4th house is either, or someone you live with. So maybe a roommate you used to have comes back for a short time and then leaves again, or you have some blessing of a roommate for a little bit and then they leave. Those are ways that person could show up, but there's a little more going on when Venus goes retrograde in the 4th, because it's like you're reconsidering what home means to you. You're reconsidering what your values are, how beautiful you want your home to be. Some Taurus risings from July 22nd till now could be remodeling or making some visual changes in your home. You could also find that with Venus in the 4th, there's a desire to go back and redo something related to your own emotional security. Maybe there's something you've been going through in your mind, or journaling about, or talking about, or thinking about, that has more to do with your peace of mind, your well-being. It could be a time, because the fourth house to me is one of the houses that does represent things like sometimes like therapy, or like even not just therapy, but like the act of connecting with your innermost self, because the fourth house is the deepest part of us. So Venus going retrograde in the deepest part of you is like, what does my heart want? Listening to the whispers. What does my intuition say? There's a quietude here with that fourth house. So a time to kind of get clear on the deeper feelings. And perhaps since July 22nd, it's been about reassessing how you even feel about certain things, reassessing what you want, reassessing something related to the home. Now, this could be more literal, like getting your home appraised, right? Like going back and seeing again what the value is. Now, let's consider that Venus rules the ascendant here, and it also rules the sixth house of work, schedule, and routines. So maybe reassessing what your home routine is. Maybe there's been a change to your routine and there has been more or less time at home. Maybe there is something about work, your work schedule, your coworkers, your day-to-day activities, your if you work for yourself, the schedule that you keep, or your diet that you've been some of a reconsidering how many sweets you want to eat every day. Or who knows, maybe for some people there's more of a personal connection to that topic. Like if you're a baker, well, maybe you're redesigning the recipes of your cakes or something, but that's not going to be for everyone. So Venus also rules our aesthetic, our clothes, our perfume, our, like personal care products, makeup, everything we do to look a certain way. And it's in the fourth house here of home. So it's like painting the walls, any kind of aesthetic to your home could be also the topic at this point as well. But that sixth house makes it a little bit more about like what you're doing day to day, and how what you're doing day to day affects your home, or how beautiful your home is. It's almost like if you realize you have a bunch of clutter. Oh, let me come back. Let my connection just come back. I think maybe we did just lose connection. So I'm trying to see, would anyone watching live mind just letting me know if we are still live? Okay, so I'm just going to keep going because I think maybe we are still live. And so hopefully it is true. All right, so that being said, that was Taurus. Yeah, and that, again, that and now is leaving your life again, or you saw them again, or maybe a coworker came to visit your house during that retrograde, or maybe something also related to diet, gym routines, like your health, your working out, your diet. Like maybe you like went on and did a cut, and like, when you do a cut, you like decrease everything, or maybe you changed how you're doing that, right? Maybe you changed how you're weighing out your food. On to the next sign now, which is going to be for our Geminis. Geminis, Venus going direct here on September 3rd in your third house kind of brings communication back online. And there could have been, since July 2nd, a reassessing of the topic of communication, going over how you speak, going over, I'm just going to keep going because I think we're still here, and it looks like I'm cutting out a bit. So sometimes my Wi-Fi, especially in this room, isn't perfect, but I have like 10 more minutes of light in here. And so that's what we're doing. Anyway, guys, We have, and the yellow room also makes my teeth look yellow, so I'm just trying to do my best here. All right, so we have, for Geminis, Venus going direct in the third house. So this is going to highlight topics like elementary school for those that makes sense. Communication, how you think, how you communicate what you know, and perhaps during this retrograde from, from back in July 22nd, there's been some kind of reassessing of things related to how you communicate, how you speak, your siblings, or your cousins, aunts, and uncles. So one of the people that could have popped into your life during this time would be a cousin, aunt, or uncle you haven't seen in a while, or a sibling you haven't seen in a while. That's not going to be everyone. Third house rules your car. So some of you could have been getting something visual changing on your car somehow between July 22nd and now. Not everyone, but some. Applies to you. Other third house topics are things like writing things repeatedly, right? So like social media posts, I think of third house because they're like quick, like Twitter. Twitter to me is like a third house thing. Who knows? Maybe some of y'all Geminis are like redoing your Twitter page, and you can tell me about that in the comments because that would be so specific and awesome. But that being said, we're going to talk more now about what houses Venus rules and how that affects you. Venus ruling the 12th house means it's subconscious mind stuff going into the third house. So maybe some Geminis at this point have been considering how your own subconscious fears come up around siblings, aunts, uncles, or cousins. If you have a fear of driving, maybe you've been looking at that and considering that. Maybe you've been trying to, go to Toastmasters and face your fears around speaking and communicating or something. Okay. Hopefully our connection is good now, and we are just going to keep on going. Thanks for bearing with me. For those of you on the live. Okay, so next. Next is, what is it? That's going to be Libra, the 5th house, the fun house. So when Venus is in the 3rd house, that means your fun, your creativity is going into the 3rd house. Your creativity might be being invested into what? Well, into possibly, man, this Wi-Fi is not going very well. For those of you who are still here, who've been here since I asked about the live quality, let me know in a comment. Is it cutting out often, or is it just cutting out a little bit here and there? What is your feeling on that? And this should be like this. Why? Am I just off now? Just a little? Erica's saying just a little. A little bit here and there. Okay, so we'll just keep going. You guys, if it gets like you can't hear me at all, please just comment and I'll move and we'll start over. Okay, so I think we are back again, and we're still on Gemini. All right, so that 5th house ruler in the 3rd, invest in your creative potency into how you talk. Now, some of you, your kids are going to elementary school or something, or they're going back to the elementary school they came from or something, something interesting around that. For others, it has nothing to do with that. And it has more to do with you and your life force energy. If you have a business, this would be focusing on your marketing or redoing how you communicate to customers. If you do not have a business, this could be like art or passion or creativity, sort of, again, being funneled into that. Communication using words. So putting your creativity into words in some way, or going back over how you use words to define or express yourself creatively, or using like marketing, whatever it is that you do, redoing a website that goes over selling your art, if that applies to you, or rewriting song lyrics, whatever aspect of creativity makes sense for you. And I feel like on this day, the 3rd of September, really going to feel a bit like you guys are ready to go forward and to go forward and like put your creativity into action, or put something out there, or speak more clearly, or something. Maybe even in dating for some of you. So moving on now to Cancers. So Venus direct for you, Cancers, is going to be in your second house of money. So for Cancers, this has been a time of like reassessing your values when it comes to money, reassessing what you spend your money on, possibly even getting rid of some stuff, possibly going through your furniture, going through your art, or going through anything you own and like cleaning it up or getting rid of it, or consolidating, figuring out what you're going to keep and get rid of, redoing something related to possessions. Now, since, Venus rules money and this in your money house, this could also be like counting your actual money in some way, like counting your portfolio or your investments, or seeing how much you've made on certain stocks, or, just seeing how much you got. And since July 22nd, really focusing in on like what you have, what you've accumulated, what your assets are. This could also be a time, because Venus rules the 4th house of home, of, again, and this is another one, your home reappraised from July to September, or you could be somehow trying to go back and see what the value of your home is, or somehow trying to go back and see how to put more value into your home or something. Yes. Okay. So then other things for when Venus retrograde, and this second for Cancers from July 22nd till September 3rd, you could have had someone from who you used to work with pop in, someone who represents money to you, or someone who invested in you, someone who you invested in, someone who you loaned money to, someone who loaned money to you, show up in your life, someone who gave you some stuff. That topic might just come up at some point. Venus going direct in the second will probably make you feel a little bit ready to like spend your money, a little bit ready to, I don't know, some of you might be wanting to like, I don't know, receive money from a house in some way. So that could be doing something like, hold on, sorry. Like renting a room out, and now you're ready to do it because you had to go back and fix it or something. But it could be ready to sell. You had to get it ready to sell. You had to do something else to your home to get it ready to make you more money, right? Because the 4th house ruler in the second, the literal translation will be money from the home. So this could also be getting ready to move all your stuff, and then you make more money. It's not like you make money, but you make money by paying less at a place or something, or something. So those are things that could be all happening for Cancers. Now, Venus also rules your 11th house of friends. So you could have friends giving you money, or friends and money, the topic of friends and money coming up, where it's like maybe your friends are helping invest in you. Maybe your friends are helping you make some money choices. Somehow the group of people you're around, it feels like there's a lot of potential for Cancers right now to get some goodwill from people they know, to kind of help them out, even if it is a challenging financial situation. So that being said, let's go on to Leos. Thank you all for those of you who commented that it's It's mostly for most people, I'm seeing just the Wi-Fi's a little here and there. So we're going to keep on going. We are on Leo, and this is for Venus direct on September 3rd, which we need to notice that we're on the 4th. You guys can't see that. Technically, my chart is on the 4th right now, but it is still the forecast for what will be happening, what will be coming up when Venus goes direct. Okay, so, oh my gosh, someone's being so loud. Okay, so for Leos, Venus direct in the first house means you have been focusing since July 22nd on you, probably a glow up. A lot of you have been trying to do a glow up, redoing your hair, redoing your look, changing something about your appearance. Others of you, it might have more to do with your identity and like really taking a look at who you feel like you are and what values define you, and what values don't anymore, and kind of reassessing your life direction, because the first house is like our whole life and what we're doing next. So some of you might have been, since July 22nd, kind of taking stock of what's working in your life, what is bringing you joy, who is bringing you joy, what you're missing, what kind of joy you're missing in life, and what needs to change so that you can receive more or allow more in, that kind of thing. So, and a lot of you, it's going to be focused on your role or your career. And so then Venus ruling the 3rd house of communication, your car, your siblings, your aunts, cousins, and uncles. It's also going to rule communication, short distance trips, your neighborhood. So it's almost like a reassessment of, are you in the right neighborhood? And perhaps some Leo risings, those of you who want to move, this will be a time where you're feeling like maybe now you're ready to know what you want to move to. It might be that kind of thing. Ready to know, or ready to do some kind of changing in your neighborhood, or somehow you know more about yourself at this point by September 3rd that you can take to go forward and use that to kind of attract what you want to attract, especially when it comes to your neighborhood and or your career, because Venus rules your 10th house. So when your 10th house ruler is in the first, sometimes you are more visible in the public eye. Sometimes you are focusing on branding, especially if you are your personal brand. This might be a time where you get new pictures or you do a rebrand. That's going to be really common for those Leo risings who that would make sense for. For others, you could just be more of a face of your company at this time. You might be expected to do something where you end up representing your company in some way. Yeah, so that's kind of what I feel for Leos. Yeah, we're going to move on now to Virgo, Virgo risings. That's also me. I said I would tell my story, and I will. So Virgo risings, Venus has been retrograded in your 12th house since July 22nd, bringing you a reassessment of pleasure subconsciously. So this can be a few things. This can be reassessing a topic related to the 12th house, like getting sober, mental illness, your spiritual path, that dark night of the soul, any of those topics, reassessing your values along those things, especially since Taurus rules your 9th house of beliefs. So what do you believe about spirituality? What do you believe about the subconscious mind? What do you believe about where people go when they die? What do you believe about loss? What do you believe about things that don't work out in life? Where is your faith? And with the 9th house ruler and the 12th, this might be a harder transit for Virgo risings. There might be something that tests your faith during this time from July 22nd. You could have lost some money at some point. I lost some money during this one. And it was my own kind of fault, but it's like there was a loss of money. Sometimes it's that literal. Since Venus rules your 2nd house, what happens is you buy something and it doesn't work, or you end up spending more on something than you'd had to, or in some other way money can be lost. That's not going to be everyone. Other things that the 12th house rules are prisons, retreats. So for some, maybe reassessing how much quiet time you've gotten or how you spend your time alone, and if it's really helping you get closer to God. Because Venus, the 9th house is the house of God. Maybe you would rather use a different word there. Go ahead. That's fine. But maybe reassessing how much time you spend in your faith versus your day-to-day life. Maybe pondering more or pondering less. Maybe just having some moments of intensity of processing grief, right? Because the 12th house is where grief goes. It doesn't matter when the loss happened. So maybe moments of going back and realizing things about a loss from whenever ago. And also, that second ruler going direct kind of will make it feel for some that on the 3rd, your money might come back online in some way. And that doesn't mean it was offline, but there might be an ability to see more clearly how you've lost money in the past or how you've wasted your money. Some Virgo risings might be put more in touch with how they have wasted money or how they are not, using money in the way they want to be. Because the topic of money being lost is the key here. And it's like, okay, revising that, reevaluating that, cleansing that, purifying that. And that could be through an experience where you see it more clearly, right? Since the sun came along and burned out Venus during this time. Or it can also be through some other thing, some other practice, some other quietude or realization or clarity. I don't want to forget that the 12th house is the house of bed pleasures, and Venus being retrograde there. Just Venus being there can bring you more bed pleasures, Virgos, but also going direct might have there might be a shift or a more strong focus on that area of life, whether you are single or not. And just, pleasure being more of a focus, more of a ability to do it in some way. I don't know. Who knows? But I gotta say all the things because that might be the thing that you guys relate to, Also, the 9th house is travel. So for some Virgo risings during this retrograde, you could have gone a trip somewhere, but it's almost like going back to somewhere, going back to somewhere you got spiritual, going back to somewhere you went crazy, going back to somewhere you got sober, something like that. Or you could have someone who represents the 12th house. This is where my story will come in. Someone who represents the 12th house come back into your life during that time. And this is where astrology never stops blowing my mind because I wasn't even thinking about this for myself, but one thing that did happen is some of I got sober when I was young and I used to be in 12-step. And someone I used to sponsor reached out and we had ice cream during this Venus retrograde. So that was my little experience of someone 12th housey. So a sponsor or a sponsee is a very 12th house thing. Someone who is a therapist or helps you with a mental illness, someone who who has a mental illness might pop back into your life from July 22nd to September 3rd and might show up that way. This is also possible. It could be like a spiritual guru or something, but not as likely. Spirit guide too. Like if you had an angel or a spirit guide that you connected with in the past and stopped, for some Virgo risings, this would be a time where you might reconnect with that God or that angel or that teaching, maybe a set of teachings as well, since we have the 9th house involved as well. And then, 9th house also rules travel. It also rules foreigners. So a foreigner you used to know could pop back into your life. But also a reassessment of what you think about foreign things or what you feel about the desire to travel. Now, because it's the 12th house, it does have a little bit of a association here. It is a little bit of a house, not the best house, I'm not going to lie. So it might be the loss of travel or thinking about the past, what it was like to travel and remembering it, or somehow reconciling with the fact that you couldn't make a trip or something. That could also be a thing. But by September 3rd, I would think that most Virgo risings are going to feel a little bit more clear around your money, around your relationship with God, and around your relationship with the unconscious mind. And you still have more time while Venus goes through Leo to enjoy some of those bed pleasures. So that's what we have for Virgos. Now moving on to Libra. For Libras, Venus retrograde in that 11th house since July has brought a reassessment of your hopes and dreams. Are you really on the path to what you've always wanted? What is that really? Kind of exploring that. You could have an old friend pop back into your life, or an old group of friends. Maybe you went and saw them. Maybe they came and saw you during that retrograde. And you could also find that Venus in the 11th maybe has brought a little bit more attention to your public life. Maybe you feel a little bit more beautiful. Maybe you have more things to dress up for. Maybe you've gone to more events where you need to dress up, or maybe you're redoing your appearance, especially when it comes to how you are perceived in the public eye, because you are Venus. So Libras, this one is a strong one for you. July 22nd and September 3rd. You have been reassessing your hopes and dreams. What have you realized? What have you realized about what you want to receive and what you're not receiving? How you want that to go differently? You know, what you want to do more of, what you want to explore more of, or what have you realized about the people you've been hanging around? Have you realized that you're with the right people? Have you realized that needs to change a bit? That could be something too that has been happening since July 22nd for Libras. Now also we have the fact that Venus rules your 8th house of psychology, transformation, other people's money, going into your 11th house, which is a money house. So maybe there is something some kind of contract being redone. Maybe something going back and getting corrected relating to child support or something, some kind of financial thing that you relied on with someone else, a business partner or a spouse, and now it being redone. And by the 3rd, something positive coming out of that. That could be a possibility. That's not going to be for everyone. For others, it could be more like, I don't know, something that involves trust with people, being reevaluated for you, reevaluating who you trust, or getting disconnected or connecting with a certain group of trusted people, or something along those lines, like taking a break from a group of support and then going back to it. During this time, you could have had, again, an old friend or an old group of friends, or like someone who follows you come back into your life, like a follower on social media or something, or someone who really influenced your hopes and dreams. Hopes and dreams are the biggest thing, I feel. Also, you know, the 11th house is money from the work you do. So this could be money can be involved here. There can be a reevaluation of something related to how much money you get from the work you do, and contracts and things like that as well for Libra. So that is what I have for Libra. Moving on now to the next sign, which is going to be Scorpio. For Scorpios, Venus going direct on the 3rd is probably going to bring something, some clarity or forward motion or ability to feel like you know what's going on into your work life or your public life. This could simply be a change to your public image that you've been trying to change since July 22nd. It could also be changing your public image that you just have to go along with, that wasn't necessarily initiated by you. But it feels like a glow up to your public image in some way. What else? Let me think. July 22nd to September 3rd, an old boss could come back into your life, a father figure. You could have someone you used to work with come back into your life, but most likely a supervisor kind of pop in, usually temporarily. And then we also have Venus ruling the 7th house and Venus ruling the 12th house. So subconscious things related to work, facing fears related to work. Maybe since July, Scorpios out there have been really trying to overcome some fears related to taking that next step in your career or life direction, and want to put yourself out there. And by September 3rd, maybe now you are ready. The 7th house is about partnerships. So maybe you've been reevaluating who you're working with, or what people you're listening to for advice on your next steps. Or if you are in a relationship, there can be some changing of roles in relationship and reevaluating who's doing what. And now you are doing more of a, most likely feminine role, because we're talking about Venus. Or something about that where it's like, I don't know, maybe you were doing too much of the work and you're like, honey, will you please do the dishes? There can be something about that as well. So let's go on now to, let's talk more. I feel like I didn't cover that 12th house enough, Scorpios. Subconscious fears related to work. The topics of addiction or mental illness related to work and reevaluating that, only if that applies, right? If you do any kind of social work, or work with people's fears or something, that's going to apply more of like, if you're a coach and you're a Scorpio rising, you might be reassessing, you might be wanting to go back and get trauma informed or something along those lines where you're trying to figure out what you need to do or change to, one, have the public image you want, but also like enjoy the work you're doing more through something 12th house related, like psychology, like the subconscious mind, like spirituality. So we're going to move on now to the next sign, which is Sagittarius. You guys have this happening in your 9th house of the meaning of life. So reevaluating what you believe about God, what you believe about what everything means. Why are we here? And thinking about that since July 22nd. So there's that. There could also be a reevaluation of travel plans, a reevaluation of somewhere you want to go. If you wanted to go to a foreign country, maybe rethinking that, or maybe, either rethinking it or changing your values around that. For Sagittarius who are in school, especially in college, this could be like redoing your college credit load or schedule or something. For others who want to learn, because the 9th house is also our quest to learn and have knowledge. And Venus in the 9th is like the love of language and the love of knowledge. Realizing how much you love language or how much you don't, realizing how much you want to study or how much you don't. Seeing a new course out there and realizing, I do need to learn that, especially things that might prepare you for your work in the world. Venus retrograde may be having that happen. During July 22nd to September 3rd, maybe a foreigner comes back into your life, someone you met in a foreign country. You could reconnect with that person in some way. You could also find that someone you went to school with, if you went to college, might come back into your life or pop in during that time. Or what else could be? If you were ever a flight attendant or a pilot, someone related to that. But I know that's not going to be most of you. Also, Venus ruling your 6th house of work and your 11th house of hopes and dreams. The 6th house is going to be definitely reevaluating in all of this. Is your work meaningful? What is going to bring more meaning into your life? How does that need to change? And, 6th house ruler in the 9th is like, how are your routines bringing you closer or further away from spirit? How are your routines bringing you closer or further away from God? And what needs to change to feel like the things you're doing every day are on a quest and a spiritual path? With your 11th house ruler, that's going to be like, are your hopes and dreams really the things that are going to make you happy? And reevaluating that and kind of seeing, how does it all need to change so you feel like you're on the quest again if you haven't been. So going on now to Capricorns. For Capricorns, and you guys, I'm just straight up in the dark now, but that's fine. Okay, so Capricorns, Venus going direct in your 8th house on September 3rd is going to bring a feeling of your transformation or how you merge with others, going back online or being ready to kind of move forward in a way. So the 8th house is kind of complicated. It's it can be like debt, it can be other people's resources. So if you are in a relationship and there's joint finances, that's going to be probably what it's about. For some, it might be a business partnership. For others, it may be just the topic of transformation, how you change, how you transform your psychic ability, your psychology, and reevaluating your own psyche, your own fears, your own things that keep you from change, right? Because like the 8th house is kind of like a house of change. So reevaluating how you change, how much you've changed, how much you need to change. Venus ruling your 10th house of career, well, that makes it really different because it's like, how is your public image helping you or stopping you with the ways that you know you need to transform your life? How is your work contributing to or taking away from other people's money? Or if you work with other people's finances, definitely this is a work transit for you. But this can also have to do with pleasure and trust because you got your fifth house ruler, the fun house ruler, and the eighth house of trust. So it's like, do I trust the people in my life enough to have fun with them? And can I just let loose, or am I guarded? You know, from July 22nd to September 3rd, there can be something about that. Some of you could have an old lover or an old spouse, like an ex-husband or ex-wife or something, pop back into your life for a little bit, even if it's just for a visit from July 22nd to September 3rd. That could be a thing. Or an old significant other just come in and, you know, maybe not for long. That's another way this could show up. But with the fifth house and eighth house, this can have to do with sexuality as well, reevaluating what your needs are. Are your needs getting met? For Capricorns who your needs aren't getting met, that might be what this transit has been helping you see. And if your needs are getting met, well, maybe you're going back and being like, well, what if they get to be met more or something like that. So that's what I have for Caps. Let's move on now to Aquarius. Aquarius says, Venus in your seventh house of significant relationships, reevaluating love. That is it. You're just reevaluating your love life. I'm going to turn a light on. Hold on. 1 second while I do that. Just 1 second, guys. And these are not usually flattering, but it's better than darkness. So, all right. So we're on Aquarius. So for Aquarius, Venus in that seventh house, really reevaluating your love life, reevaluating what you need in relationships, whether you're single or coupled. You know, what do you need from love? What do you need from your partner? Are you being seen in your relationship? And how does your partner see you? And this and the seventh can be reevaluating long-term friendships. Some of you from July 22nd to September 3rd could have had a long-term partner come back into your life for a time. Usually they don't stay. But then that fourth house ruler in the seventh, there could also be something related to home, or what makes you feel like home, and how relationships make you feel like home, or how when you feel grounded in your own skin, what you need for that, you know, what you need to feel grounded so that you can be your best in relationship and attract the relationship you want to have. And the ninth ruler in the seventh is also like, this can bring more meaning to your relationships, but through the exploration of values and what, you know, what's meaningful and like something like that. So there may be more of a desire to have meaningful experiences in love. There may be more of a desire to, I don't know, just like find meaning through relationships. That can really be what it is for Aquarius. Now, for those of you who are like, but I don't want a relationship, if you have one-on-one clients, they go in your seventh house. So some of you Aquariuses, if you have one-on-one clients, this could be reevaluating what you want or need from them, how much money you want to make from that. That makes sense only if you have clients, though. So let's go ahead now and go on to last but definitely never least, our Pisces. So for Pisces, we have Venus in your sixth house going retrograde, reevaluating since July 22nd what you want to do for work, whether you are getting better at your craft, what craft you want to be getting better at, how you diet, how you spend your time. And that can be working, how much money you make for the work you do, especially for Pisces who are feeling like they don't get enough. If you feel like you don't get paid enough for what you do, man, I have a shiny forehead. I can't make it stop. If you feel like you don't get paid enough for what you do, Pisces, this transit has been really putting you in touch with that. You know, what you need or want to receive. Do you feel like you're being of service and you feel like you're being useful and you feel like your gifts are being a contribution to the world? Do you feel like there are ways that that's not true from July 22nd to September 3rd? That could be a thing. You could also find from July 22nd an old coworker, someone you used to spend a lot of time with, or someone who represents like maybe someone you used to work out with could come back into your life, or a trainer or something. The sixth house rules coworkers, pets. An old pet could come back into your life. You could maybe see an old pet from this time for some reason during this time, and probably one that you really loved. And what else? It's like reevaluating how you spend your time. Are you getting to enjoy your time? Is it getting wasted doing everyone's dishes? Reevaluating what work you do and whether you feel like it's, putting you in debt, or whether it's letting you pay off debt, or whether it's taken away from your trust of people. Do you trust your coworkers? That eighth house ruler, are you changing your life as much as you want? Are you getting bogged down with work? Since July 22nd, you may be thinking about this stuff. With Venus ruling the third house, there's also an aspect of communication affecting this reevaluation of your work. So it's like, especially for Pisces who maybe feel like they're not being heard in the workplace, this might be a time where you're reevaluating how you come across, or reevaluating what you do, or reevaluating how much time you spend in order to, be heard more and feel like you're a part of the team in some way. For some of you who maybe have a newer job, this might be a time where your communication is being evaluated by your coworkers. Maybe you're reevaluating a coworker who you've already been coworkers with, and you have seen them in a new way, or you get new information about something related to coworkers that helps you move forward from September 3rd on. That can be in the same job or a different job or something like that. So it may be clarity to leave, but it may also be just like, oh, now I know who I can trust, right? Because that eighth house factoring in makes me feel like this is about trusting your coworkers, or trusting the people who you work around, or maybe reevaluating who you're around when it comes to work, and whether they're the kind of people you want to be co-working with, whether it's like for a job or at a place you work at for your own business or something. The sixth house is also your diet and exercise, so you may be reevaluating that, especially when it comes to how you're managing your time. Now, the third house is like your day-to-day trips and your car. So it could be something like getting your car fixed and having to redo your schedule, but it could also be something like really going over how many times a week do I go to the store, and how can I change this so I'm not wasting all my time picking up groceries, or something else along those lines, where it's like routines are really strong on this one. So with Venus retrograde from July 22nd till September 3rd, it might be a time where by September 3rd, you Pisces out there re-emerge with a new routine, or a new habit, or a new approach to your habit change, new approach to your diet, new approach to your work. So don't forget to book a reading with me. There's a link in the chat for those of you live. There's a link in the comments for those of you who are watching the replay. And if you're just jumping on the live, you can always go back and watch the part for your sun, moon, and rising, because we did all 12 signs of the zodiac. Not only how Venus direct is going to go, but what kinds of things were likely to happen from July 22nd to September 3rd. So feel free to go back and watch for all three, and then leave me a comment and let me know if it was accurate. I'm telling you guys, going back is so much better than trying to go forward with the prediction. But we still covered, time that's in the future. So I got to give you guys the best of both worlds. And I told a little bit about mine in the Virgo rising portion, for any of you who didn't hear that part. And thank you all so much for everything you do to help this channel grow. And check out that sale, book a reading if you want to. There's a link in the description. They're 50% off through the 26th, and they book up fast. So go ahead and do that soon if you want to get in on it.